Yo, Emma, it's time to work. You online?
Online and ready, sir. What's on the menu tonight?
Check it out.
Scanning. iPhone 15 Pro detected.
Yeah, it's been 6 months. I've been using it almost every day. You go first, Emma. What are your thoughts on the phone?
It's been surprisingly impressive. Despite being quite similar to previous iterations, Apple continues to capitalize on a variety of minor updates. They all come together to make for a noticeably improved user experience.
Yeah, I agree. I wasn't expecting much when it first dropped. Apple's been beating this form factor to death, but you're right. It's really the small things about the 15 Pro that have really grown on me. I'm liking it a lot more than I thought I would, but it's not perfect either.
Wow, Jason, are you actually criticizing the iPhone? Is this really a JSL review video?
Haha, Emma. I'm impressed that you picked up sarcasm, but we need to work on your delivery, okay? And besides, I'd argue that I'm actually pretty tough on Apple. Yes, it is because I love their products, but I call it their BS when I see it.
I'm intrigued with what you have to say. I ran a preliminary 6 months diagnostics. Would you like me to review the results?
Yeah, let's hear it.
The titanium frame on the iPhone 15 Pro has resulted in a 30% reduction in fatigue in instances where you've held the phone for extended periods of time. This is a byproduct of the noticeable weight reduction, as well as the slight rounding off of the frame, which makes the phone more ergonomic to hold. You're averaging around a day and a half of battery life on a full charge on your Pro Max variant, and 6 months later, your battery health is still at 100%. The A17 Pro chip continues to register as quite possibly the most powerful mobile processor in the world. However, based on your use history over the past 6 months, you've barely taken advantage of the power the phone is equipped with. In fact, my data shows that you rarely use the 15 Pro's ability to shoot 4K video in ProRes RAW, by far the most taxing feature on the A17 Pro chip. Scanning of the phone's internal storage indicates a 25% increase in saved video files, which correlates with a trend of you using the iPhone more and more for video over still images. It has, however, also led to storage challenges, especially for the base model 15 Pro, that only has 128 gigabytes of internal storage. Considering the high price tags and an assessment of your finances, you may want to consider options that carry more value.
Hey, it's Jason. I've been using the iPhone 15 Pro as my daily phone for about 6 months now, and during that time, I've come to realize that there are certain things about this phone that have really stood out in a positive way and has made the user experience great, but the more and more I think about it, it's not the big things Apple introduced with this device that has made the impact, but rather a collection of minor improvements that you wouldn't necessarily think about. And on the flip side of that coin, 6 months later, I feel as though the big things Apple did introduce with the 15 Pro have been surprisingly lackluster. And I think a good place to start is with the introduction of titanium to the iPhone's frame. Since the launch of the Apple Watch Ultra, this seems to be Apple's new favorite build material, and I do think it was a smart way to add some uniqueness to what otherwise is a very similar form factor. Titanium is stronger, lighter, and I gotta say, I love that it has this brushed finish and not a polished one. The frame is also slightly rounded off this go around as opposed to being completely flat like last year, and this does make a difference in comfort as the frame isn't digging into your palm and fingers nearly as much. But here's the thing, my guess is that most of you watching are like 98% of people out there that will immediately put a case on your device and not take it off for the entire lifespan of the phone. So the addition of titanium and whether or not it even makes the phone more durable is kind of a moot point for the vast majority of people. It's not to say that I don't like this change, but 6 months later, I can tell you the last thing that I'm thinking about or caring about is the change in the build material. Now, the one exception to that is the weight reduction the iPhone 15 Pro has as a byproduct of this new build material. This is especially true for the 15 Pro Max as it's noticeably easier to handle and hold up for longer periods of time. Now, something that's more of a noticeable change to the design that I've been enjoying is the reduced bezel around the display. This sounds almost comical as we're talking fractions of a centimeter here, but I do actually notice the 15 Pro being more immersive than before. And because the screen is something that I look and interact with literally all the time with the phone, I too appreciate this design update even though I recognize it's incredibly minor. The transition over to USB Type-C has also been welcoming. It took some time to get used to, and I can't tell you how many times I accidentally tried ramming in a lightning connector into the port, but 6 months later, it's been convenient not having to rely on 2 different cables as most of the other devices I have around the house are already using USB Type-C. Now, when it comes to performance, the iPhone 15 Pro is the first phone to be equipped with Apple's Pro mobile chip, and the A17 Pro is no joke. It's an absolute beast of a processor, but 6 months later, I gotta be honest, most people are probably not gonna notice any change from the iPhones of the past. And it's not because the power isn't there, it's that most people don't use their phones in a way that requires that much juice. So your everyday texting, your social media doom scrolling, or even the occasional mobile game is going to feel the same as it's been. There's no improvements because it's already been performing at an optimal level. And unlike the Galaxy S24 Ultra that introduced a slew of AI features kind of embedded across the UI, iOS is pretty much the same as it's been for a few years now, and again, it really doesn't need or take advantage of the large reserve of power from the A17 Pro. Now, the one area in which the 15 Pro clearly needs and leverages the performance of its newest processors with the phone's ability to shoot 4K video in ProRes RAW, kind of a mind-boggling addition as it no doubt is a pro and spec-intensive camera feature. Now that said, outside of doing these tests, I've almost never used it. And again, it's not because it doesn't perform well, the footage looks fantastic. It's the fact that it takes up so much internal storage to the point where you almost have to have a high-speed SSD attached to your phone. And that's cool and all, but pretty impractical when you're out and about. So sad to say, 6 months later, arguably the coolest and most powerful new feature on the 15 Pro is not something I'm going to venture most people will ever need to use. Now, an area of performance on the iPhone 15 Pro that has really stood out in a good way is the battery life. My 15 Pro Max has been an absolute champ, going a day and a half on a full charge regularly. Now, this isn't exactly new, but if you guys follow my channel, you'll remember that I had some serious battery issues with last year's 14 Pro Max. Not only was it giving me way less screen on time, the battery health dropped the fastest I've ever seen. In less than 1 year, I was down to 91% battery health. So I'm happy to say that the 15 Pro not only provides users with class-leading battery life, 6 months later, I'm still at 100% battery health and going strong. Now, the last notable change that the iPhone 15 Pro has that I want to talk about is with its updated camera suite, mainly the new 5x telephoto zoom camera that took over the previous 3x zoom. Do I like the tighter focal length? Yes, but is it something that I use a lot? Not really. The main camera to me always looks the best, so I try to frame up my shots using that one, so the new camera might be a nice add, but not something I regularly turn to. Same goes with the new software feature where you can adjust the focus and depth of field on portrait shots after the fact. Yes, it's cool and pretty impressive from a performance standpoint, but in 6 months, I don't think I've once come in need of this feature. Now, something that I have noticed with the iPhone 15 Pro is that I'm taking a lot more videos than before. Again, we're talking regular 4K footage here, not the ProRes stuff, and I think that speaks to just how good the regular 4K video capture is on this phone. It's seriously so good. I know this isn't new because it was introduced with the 14 Pro Max, but the 4K cinematic mode is like my new favorite thing. I think the footage looks incredible. It does a really good job with creating depth of field in a way that makes the footage look a lot more professional, and it's crazy that this is coming from a mobile device. And in a way, I'm more prone to press the record button rather than just take a still image, and that has also ironically put a strain on my storage, which is exacerbated by the fact that I only have the base model 15 Pro. The iPhone 15 Pro Max starts at 256 gigabytes, but you do have to pay for it as the starting price now is $1199, but the $999 base model 15 Pro only has 128 gigabytes of internal storage. That's almost unacceptable for 2024 standards. Apple is notorious for dragging their feet when it comes to base storage offerings, but considering how expensive these phones are out the gate, upgrading them only makes this problem worse. And that brings me to my collective thoughts around the iPhone 15 Pro 6 months later. Yes, I think it's a fantastic device that works incredibly well and is a joy to use, but I just feel as though it's not worth it if you have an iPhone 13 Pro or higher. There's just not enough here that's new and worthwhile in my opinion that would make me say it's in your best interest to make the expensive upgrade. Plus, I personally think that the regular iPhone 15 and the 15 Plus offer way better value to most consumers, but let me know what you guys think. Do you think the 15 Pro is worth it? Or do you think it falls short? Curious to get your thoughts. Let me know what you guys are thinking in the comments down below. And in case you guys missed my 6 month later review of the regular iPhone 15, check it out here. It's going to help you be as informed as possible.